At 2 a.m. on the 15th of October 2025, chaos erupts inside the FSB's main command center in Moscow. 40 unidentified targets appear on radar, their electronic signals screaming one word, HIMARS. Russian commanders panic, believing a massive missile strike is underway. A senior officer shouts, "Activate every Panzer battery! Bring the Kosatka 4 online immediately!" They think Ukraine's final blow has begun. From the Ukrainian border, 25 FPV drones race toward Moscow at treetop level just 50 feet above the ground. Another 15 take off toward Kaliningrad. Each broadcasts a fake electronic signature identical to a multi-million-dollar HIMARS rocket launch. To Russian radar, it looks like an apocalyptic missile barrage. The Kremlin believes Kyiv has thrown everything it has into one knockout attack. That entire 40-drone assault on Moscow is nothing but bait. While Russia's most advanced air defenses scramble to intercept cheap decoys in the north, the real offensive is already beginning 800 miles to the south. Ukraine has launched a coordinated strike, its Festival of Fiery Oil, aimed at 4 of Russia's most critical refineries. Ukraine unleashes a revolutionary new tactic, the Swarm Phantom Relay. The decoy drones that struck Moscow were only part of the deception. The true attack drones use encrypted Starlink connections and cutting-edge AI that hops radio frequencies every 2 seconds, rendering them invisible to Russian jammers. It's like a drone football team faking left and scoring a touchdown to the right. At 3:44 a.m., 4 attack drones break away from the main swarm over Volgograd. Their target, the refinery's hydro treating complex, a massive network of pipes and reactors responsible for removing sulfur from diesel fuel. This hydro-treating unit is a high-pressure system vital to producing military-grade fuel. Without it, the entire plant's output grinds to a halt. But the Russians are ready. After the initial shock, their air defense network roars to life, and a nearby Panzer S-1 battery locks onto the 4 approaching drones. Massive anti-drone nets have been stretched between Crane's crude, yet supposedly effective steel barriers. For a moment, it seems like simple math. 4 drones versus a wall of steel and missiles. But this is exactly the setup Ukraine has been waiting for. The 4 supporting drones that had stayed low suddenly climb sharply to 5,000 feet. They activate small corner reflectors, metal plates, that bounce radar waves with immense intensity. To Russian radar, these drones now appear as large and fast as cruise missiles, and the Panzer's computer instantly shifts its aim skyward. Within seconds, the Panzer unleashes a barrage of its costly 57 E-6 missiles. Russian operators watch proudly as their billion-dollar defense system annihilates 4 threats with textbook precision, unaware they've just shot down decoys. The radar's own energy and explosions create a burst of interference, briefly blinding the system. For 30 critical seconds, the radar goes blind. At that same moment, a gust of wind sweeps across the refinery, swaying the massive anti-drone netting and briefly exposing the rear of the hydro-treating unit. The Russians have unknowingly opened their own 30-second window. That was all the time they needed. The 4 real attack drones waiting below the radar clutter receive final authorization through the encrypted Starlink link. They accelerate, bank hard, and dive straight through the exposed gap, striking the refinery's vulnerable pipes in rapid succession. The explosions ignite a massive fireball that burns for 2 hours, causing an estimated $10 million in damage, and knocking the facility offline. Volgograd is soon engulfed in thick smoke, crippling 10% of the fuel supply for Russia's southern front. But the night is far from over. The next target is the Bashneft refinery in Ufa, over 850 miles from the border. It's protected by the infamous Kosatka 4, a jamming beast that floods a 185-mile radius with electromagnetic noise, scrambling everything from drones to GPS. The challenge is immense. How do you make drones communicate when your enemy can turn off the sky? By 4:30 a.m., fires still rage in Volgograd as the next swarm crosses into Russian airspace. Their destination, the Ufa refinery's colossal ELO AVT-6 distillation unit, which processes 8 million tons of crude per year. This time, the Russians leave nothing to chance. They ground all civilian flights at Ufa International and flip the Kosatka 4 to full power. Their target is the Bashneft UNPZ refinery in Ufa, nearly 850 miles from the Ukrainian border. This isn't just a deeper strike, it's a far tougher one. At its core stands the ELO AVT-6 crude distillation unit, a massive structure processing 8 million tons of oil each year. They ground all civilian traffic at Ufa International Airport. Then they flipped the switch on the Kasuka 4. This system floods a 185-mile radius with electromagnetic noise that can scramble drones and GPS. To the Russian commander, the problem seems solved. But Ukraine's AI had already modeled the Kasuka's patterns. As the jamming wave hits, the decoys broadcast distorted GPS signals to mimic struggling drones. The Panzer's computer spots a seemingly vulnerable target and fires. The missile locks onto the nearest real signal, a Russian civilian surveillance drone flying just outside the jam cone. Operators watch in horror as their multi-million-dollar interceptor vaporizes their own asset. The situation rapidly worsens. Kasuka's power blinds more than just Ukrainian drones. Orlan patrol drones lose command links and return to base. For 45 critical seconds, the refinery is blind, an opening Ukraine's silent attack drones exploit. The 10 Beaver attack drones have been navigating by internal gyros and terrain matching. Now the swarm brain, via encrypted Starlink, beyond Kasuka's reach, assigns final targets. A gust shifts the anti-drone netting, exposing the unit. They slam into the ELO AVT-6 distillation unit, turning its annual 8 million-ton capacity into a raging inferno. The blast paralyzes the plant. Ufa International remains closed for 4 hours as toxic smoke drifts across runways. Ufa burns and loses roughly 15% of the region's fuel output. Russia abandons automated reliance and scrambles its top fighters. The Su-35 seconds determined to hunt the attackers by human hand rather than by computer logic. Now the fight becomes personal. An Su-35 prowls over the Saratov refinery with a seasoned pilot ready to exact revenge. The Ukrainian swarm facing him is only 6 drones, seemingly an easy target for a state-of-the-art fighter. As the pilot closes, the targets don't behave like machines. They glide and dip, moving erratically like a flock of birds. He switches to optical sensors, baffled. At a glance, they appear avian rather than mechanical. These are 6 Flamingo variants fitted with experimental biomimetic wings developed with French tech. To the Su-35's radar, they register as biological clutter, not a coherent military threat, placing the pilot in a perilous dilemma. Does he fire a multi-million-dollar missile at what might be mere birds? Or hold fire? Pride wins. He engages afterburners, closes fast for visual ID, pulling a high G-turn that stresses his aircraft to the limit. That violent maneuver creates a huge wake vortex, scrambling the ground-based S-400 radar readings below. The pilot, now miles away and fixated on phantom prey, has inadvertently created a perfect blind spot for the attackers. Through that gap, a second swarm hidden behind the flamingos as a screen gets final targeting data from the relay AI using imagery from a U.S. commercial satellite. They surge forward toward the exposed primary distillation unit. The anti-drone netting, loosened by high winds, hangs partially aside, exposing the refinery's main distillation unit. The drones charge forward without hesitation, smashing into their target. Saratov erupts in a massive explosion visible for miles. The Su-35 pilot finally scores a missile lock on the last decoy, vaporizing a $1,000 foam drone in a blaze of false triumph. He wins his duel yet loses the war. Saratov burns. Gas lines begin forming across Russia. One target remains Kustovo. This time Russia deploys everything. Tor M2S, panzers, nets, and patrol drones forming an impenetrable fortress. The question now, how do you defeat an enemy ready for every trick? By 5:40 a.m., the Kustovo refinery stands as a fortress of layered death. A Tor M2 battery forms the inner ring, capable of engaging 4 targets at once, while Panzer S-1 systems cover mid-range. Thick, multi-layered anti-drone nets cocoon the vital equipment, and high above circles an Orlan 10 drone acting as an airborne mothership to spot intruders beyond ground radar. Russia hasn't just prepared for an attack, it has built a kill box. 7 Ukrainian LUT drones approach the L2-4300 hydro treatment unit head-on, refusing stealth or altitude tricks. The moment the Tor M2's radar locks them, they unleash their last gamble. Small wing-mounted pods burst open, releasing clouds of glittering chaff, tiny metallic shards blooming into a radar storm. To the Tor M2's computer, 7 drones suddenly multiply into 70, plunging the system into digital panic. The Tor M2 fires wildly, its missiles detonating harmlessly in the metallic haze. The Panzer system tries to assist, but, amid confusion, locks onto what seems another target, its own ally in the sky. The operators watch in disbelief as Panzer missiles shred the friendly Orlan 10 drone. Russia's air defense network is now shooting itself out of the sky. Amid this chaos, Ukraine's real attack drones press through their own smokescreen. The impenetrable netting reveals a fatal flaw: it can't fully cover the massive hydrotreatment complex. Gaps remain where steel meets open sky. The Relay AI, now using commercial satellite links to evade jamming, transmits final attack vectors. The 7 drones pitch sharply upward, clear the top of the nets, then dive straight into the heart of the L24300 unit. The explosion is the largest of the night, a black column of smoke rising 1,000 feet as Russia's defenses annihilate themselves. The final Lyot drone hits precisely at 4:46 a.m. To grasp the devastation, one must understand the target: a hydro-treating maze of hydrogen and superheated oil. Striking it is like tossing a spark into a compressed fuel bomb. The resulting inferno rips through the facility, destroying $47 million of infrastructure. The true secret weapon isn't the drone itself, but the AI orchestrating the mission. That AI had studied thousands of hours of Russian jamming data, learning to predict the Kruka's frequency hopping with 95% accuracy, telling the drones which channels to jump to before the jammers even activated. It turned the swarm into a ghost army invisible to billion-dollar defenses. By dawn, 4 of Russia's most vital refineries are burning or crippled. The total Ukrainian cost around $400,000 in drones. Russia's bill exceeds $100 million in direct damage, plus the loss of facilities processing 43 million tons of oil, yearly 38% of refined fuel exports temporarily crippled. Shocking, it's war machine. The real blow is strategic. The Kremlin panics and orders S-400 and Panzer systems pulled from Ukrainian fronts to guard what's left of its oil network. Massive gaps open in the air defense shield covering Russian troops. Through those gaps, Ukrainian HIMARS and attack drones strike deep, obliterating command posts and ammo depots that had been untouchable just days before. Russia now rides a bicycle into a tank fight. In one night, Ukraine proves a chilling truth of modern war. Victory favors brains over bulk. Russia thought oil was its strength. Ukraine turned it into its biggest weakness. Never underestimate an enemy who turns cheap drones and clever code into weapons that can humble an empire.